Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special edition of the Zone by D'Antonio podcast. Today I'll be doing my bracket in front of everybody. Tell you who I think will go to the national championship, who will win. Let's start with the South region. Virginia, I think, will defeat UMBC. Creighton and Kansas State. I like Creighton in that game. I think Kansas State is a good enough offense. Kentucky and Davidson. This is a upset pick. I don't think that's going to happen. Kentucky, Arizona. People are overlooking Buffalo a bit. Not going to take Buffalo, but might be a closer game than people think. Miami, Loyola, Chicago. I actually like Miami in this game. Tennessee and Wright State. I got the Volunteers winning that one. Nevada and Texas. I want to pick Nevada a lot, but Texas has some good athletes on the team. Not only that, but Nevada really hasn't played the stiff competition. So I'll take Texas. That's my first upset of the day right there. Cincinnati and Georgia Tech, Georgia State. I like Cincinnati in that game. Xavier against either NC Central or Texas Southern. I think Xavier wins that one. Missouri and Florida State. This is a tough one. This is one of those games that could go either way. It could either go Missouri's way or Florida State's way. But I'm going to go with Missouri just because I think they have a more talented team. Ohio State, South Dakota State. This is another popular upset pick. I like Ohio State to win the game. Gonzaga and UNC Greensboro. Again, I like Gonzaga. Houston, San Diego State. I like Houston. Michigan, Montana. Michigan. Texas A&M and Providence. Another upset game. Providence ended hot. Do they beat Texas A&M? I think they do. I like Providence. North Carolina and Lipscomb. I like the Tar Heels. Let's go up to Villanova and Radford. Villanova, Virginia Tech and Alabama. I think Colin Sexton is hot right now, so I like Alabama, and Virginia Tech just doesn't have success in the tournament. So I'll take Alabama. West Virginia, Murray State. This is another popular pick by a lot of people. So I think West Virginia will do a decent job, and I think they'll barely pull it out against Murray State. Wichita State, Marshall. I like the Shockers. St. Bonaventure or Florida. I like Florida. Stephen F. Austin or Texas Tech. This is my first big upset. I like Stephen F. Austin to win the game. They have a good amount of experience from years past. Texas Tech was injured. I understand they rested their guys and they should be ready, but that's a lot of time off. Stephen F. Austin win the game. Butler is favored over Arkansas so far. I like Butler in the game. Kenyon Martin's a terrific player. I think he'll go off. Arkansas will fall. Purdue, Cal State, Fullerton. I think Purdue has its way. Kansas and Pennsylvania. This might be the closest game for a one seed. Penn, any Ivy League school that gets in always plays tough against their competition. But I think Kansas wins. Seton Hall and NC State. I like NC State. I don't think Big East basketball is very good, so I'm going to take NC State and win that one. Clemson, New Mexico State. Clemson's second leading scorer is out, so I'm going to take New Mexico State. Auburn and College of Charleston. I like Auburn in the game because I think that the College of Charleston just doesn't have quite enough. Arizona State and TCU. Jamie Dixon, the head coach of TCU, has been an atrocious tournament coach back in his days at Pitt. So whoever wins the Arizona State Syracuse game, I got winning. Michigan State Bucknell, I got Michigan State winning. It's not going to be easy. I think Bucknell's a decent team. I like Michigan State winning that one. Rhode Island and Oklahoma. Another tough game for me. I feel like this one could go either way. But I'm going to go with Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma is hungry. They've heard everybody say that they're not going to win, so I like Oklahoma winning that one. Duke and Iona, that's a Duke win. You could see the stats there. It's not what I was looking to do, but Duke over Oklahoma. We're at the round of 32. We'll go back up to the South region. I think Virginia will shut down Creighton pretty decently. I think Creighton's got a good offense, but UVA is just too good. Kentucky and Arizona, I think Arizona's just too big and too talented for Kentucky right now. Miami and Tennessee, this is a close one. This could go down to the wire. I like Tennessee winning because of their defense. They have really good defense. Cincinnati and Texas, I like Cincinnati to win that game to move on to the Sweet 16. And yes, the South bracket does look pretty weak, especially the bottom part of the South bracket. It's one of the weaker parts of the bracket up there. The upper part of the bracket is very hard. The lower part, not so much. Xavier and Mizzou, a lot of people taking Mizzou. I think Xavier has that experience from the Elite Eight last year. I think they'll pull it out. Gonzaga and Ohio State, another popular upset pick. People taking Ohio State over Gonzaga. I just have a feeling Gonzaga has a bit more experience in the tournament than Ohio State, and they already beat them earlier. So I like Gonzaga to win. Houston and Michigan. This is a really tough game for Michigan, but I'm going to take them anyway because I think their defense will prevail. And North Carolina and Providence, I like North Carolina to win the game. So you can see in both brackets, I got 1-4 and 2-3. I don't think parity will control this year, but we'll see as we get farther down what will happen. So I like Villanova over Alabama. I also like Wichita over West Virginia. I like Landry Shamet. Pretty good point guard. Stephen Foston in Florida. I like the Gators to win. No, the Gators to win, not Stephen Foston. Purdue and Butler. I like Purdue. It could be a pretty close game, actually. Two in-state rivals. Wouldn't really call them rivals, actually, but they're both in-state. I think Purdue just has too much. So let's go on to the Midwest bracket. NC State or Kansas. I got the Jayhawks winning that game. New Mexico State and Auburn. Got New Mexico State moving on. I think they will beat Auburn. I think Auburn's depleted. They'll barely beat the College of Charleston, and then they'll fall to a good New Mexico State team. Arizona State, Syracuse. For protection's sake, I'll just say this is Arizona State against Michigan State. I think Michigan State has more length, more depth than Arizona State. I like the Spartans winning. Duke and Oklahoma. This is going to be a really close game, I think. It's going to go down to the wire. I think Trae Young's going to have a big game. But Duke's more talented. They have more size. I like Duke winning that game. So you can see sort of a trend. Not really a lot of upsets in my bracket. But let's go up UVA in Arizona. This is one I thought about for a bit because UVA's defense, Arizona's size, length, athleticism, very, it could go either way. I think this game can go either way. I like Virginia because I saw what they've done with Duke this year. I think Arizona's a similar team to Duke, and UVA has done it to Duke this year. I like Virginia to win. Virginia is one of the hotter teams out there. Cincinnati and Tennessee, two defensive teams going at it. I do like Cincinnati in the game. Tennessee, struggles offensively at times. So does Cincinnati, but Cincinnati's defense makes up for that. So we'll have two defensive teams in the Elite Eight in that bracket. Okay, so let's go down to this bracket. And I think Xavier's run ends at the hands of the Zags. I think Gonzaga wins. Michigan and North Carolina. I've seen both of these teams play extensively. North Carolina is not nearly as good as they were last year. And Michigan is much better than they were when they played North Carolina earlier in the season. Wagner really been playing well. Like the Wolverines to move on to the Elite Eight over North Carolina. Let's go up here. Let's pick Villanova or Wichita State. This is a really tough one for me. I've thought about this for a bit. I think Villanova will win over Wichita State, but it'll be incredibly close and it'll go down to the wire. I think Nova will win. Florida and Purdue. I think Florida is going to have a Cinderella run, and they're going to continue to win. This time they beat a 2 seed in Purdue to get to the Elite Eight. That is what my Elite Eight prediction will be. Kansas and New Mexico State. I got New Mexico State in the Elite Eight, and I think Kansas will be hurt by their lack of depth, and really they do struggle rebounding the ball. New Mexico State is one of those just good teams. Good teams. They're similar to Oklahoma State in many ways, and Oklahoma State has had success over Kansas. That's right. I have a 12-seeded New Mexico State in the Elite Eight. Michigan State and Duke. Again, I've thought about this one just way too much, I think. Way too much. But going over all the metrics, understanding that these two teams played earlier in the season without Marvin Bagley for Duke and a nipped up Miles Bridges for Michigan State. This is a really tough one. I'm going to go with the Spartans, and it's going to be an incredibly close game. I think the shooting of Langford in Winston and the depth of Michigan State will just overwhelm the youth and the inexperience from Duke. Now, if Grayson Allen puts up 37 points again, maybe I'll change my opinion on that. I just don't know if Grayson Allen can do that again. And he was the reason why Duke won the last matchup. So these are my Elite Eights teams so far. UVA and Cincinnati. I think UVA is going to handle Cincinnati pretty easily. So I like Virginia in the Final Four. Gonzaga and Michigan. Really, really tough. Gonzaga, good on both ends. Same with Michigan. I like Michigan in the Final Four. And I'll tell you why. I like their perimeter shooting. They play well on both ends. They rebound decently well. Gonzaga, one of the better rebounding teams out there. Ha! Hell with that. There's no way I'm picking Michigan. Just joking. I like Gonzaga, actually. That was all a joke. I like Gonzaga in this game for a couple reasons. Hachimura off the bench. Jonathan Williams. Killian Tilly. One of the just really good front courts. One of the best in the country. Gonzaga's front court, one of the best. They have two guards outside, Melson and Perkins, who are really good. I like Gonzaga going to the Final Four for the second consecutive year. Let's go up to the East bracket. And Villanova and Florida. Florida's run will once again end in the Elite Eight, like it usually does. I like Villanova to go there. Michigan State and New Mexico State. I like Michigan State winning the game. I think it'll be close again. 6 or 7 point game. I think Tom Izzo's got himself in his 8th Final Four. UVA and Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga's run will continue. I think they go to the national championship for the second consecutive year. Villanova and Michigan State. Again, another hard-fought battle. This will go down to the wire. Both teams, what separates each other? Well, Jalen Brunson. one of the best players in the country. Miles Bridges, a little inconsistent at times. I got Villanova in the national championship, but in the national championship, I had the Gonzaga Bulldogs winning it. So Gonzaga will win my national championship, 76-75. That is my national championship prediction. I think if last year's Gonzaga team was in here, I think they'd have a pretty easy run to the championship. But this year's different. I like Gonzaga to win it. Barely. I think they still have one of the better teams, one of the best coached teams. So that is going to be my championship prediction. We'll see if I get it right. Probably not. But thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you on the next podcast.